Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of doing a new release, we're going back in time to 1984 to talk about the classic dance movie with surprisingly little dancing in it, Footloose. Now I gotta cut loose, Footloose. I feel like I'm going crazy, right? The critical reception on this movie is really bad. It's got like 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is even lower than the remake of Footloose that came out in 2011. And a lot of critics that I really respect gave this a really bad rating. And even the critics that gave it a good rating kind of sparingly gave it a good rating. They said like, you know, if you chuck it on a Sunday afternoon, it's not that bad. So there's almost nobody out there saying that this movie is fantastic, which I thought it was. I thought this movie was fantastic, and I'm so glad that I found it. But, you know, audiences seem to have loved this movie when it came out. Usually YouTube would be the place that I'd go to find out an audience response. But there's nothing here on YouTube. There's like 2 reviews here on YouTube. So I thought I'd try and encourage some of you guys to contribute to this conversation, because nailed it. There's so much to love about this movie. There's so much good stuff in this movie. The first thing that I like is that this movie is goofy. It's really silly. The premise of the movie is that there's a town in the Midwest called there's a town called Beaumont, and there's a funny thing about this town. The funny thing is that dancing is illegal in this town. Jump back. And not only dancing, but you're not allowed to play loud music because it's sinful. And people are afraid of what will happen if they let their children dance. That they'll get, like, their bodies will become invaded by Satan. Now, if that doesn't sound goofy to you, then, if that doesn't tell you, if that's not enough to warn you that this is a silly movie, then Kevin Bacon goes into a barn and just has a full blowout music video scene. He dances in there. Pulls on the walls, goes nuts, does his gymnastics tricks. He's a gymnast, and he does gymnast tricks in this warehouse. It's ridiculous. But I love it, man. Every scene like that just goes full on. It's like totally shameless, man. And it's great. It's fun. That's what I signed up for when I started watching the movie. I was like, give me that silly shit. What I didn't expect was characters that were actually interesting and a conflict that I actually became invested in. And there's actually something at the core of this movie that feels weirdly authentic, despite all of the goofy shit on the sidelines. And I actually became invested in this relationship between Ariel, played by Laurie Singer, and her father, who's the pastor of this town. Which leads me to my favorite thing in the movie, which is Laurie Singer. Her character is maybe a little bit of a stereotype. She's the pastor's daughter, but she's a wild child. But I feel like the movie plays with the stereotype really well. She doesn't feel like she's being a rebel just to piss off her dad. In fact, there's a lot of scenes between her and her dad in the beginning which are kind of loving and tender, and she shows a lot of affection to her dad. She just is this way. She has all of this pent-up energy. All of it kind of adds up to this character that has a lot of inner conflict. And that was a lot of fun for me, man. It didn't feel like a stock character. She does turn into kind of a dull character towards the end. But at least in the beginning, you know, she's complicated. I like the pastor character a lot. He's got kind of an interesting arc that's nicely tied in with his relationship to his daughter. Nicely played by John Lithgow. He's the antagonist of the movie, but he's not painted as in one color. He's not painted in one tone. He's got some depth to him, some dimension. Kevin Bacon, who plays a respectable young man, you know. He's not a fascinating character or anything, but he's a respectable young man. You know, his heart is in the right place, and you feel that. I enjoyed that. I like that. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is this one.
I can't dance. You what? I can't dance.
If the whole purpose of a dance movie is to make you want to dance, I can't think of any scene that does the job better than this one. Because this guy is sitting on the sidelines while his friends are dancing. And you can feel the beat of the music, and you see his friends having such a good time. And you don't even get so much as a head bob out of this guy. And it made me feel so tense. It made me want to... I actually started dancing in my own seat just to try and get this guy like, dude, give me a head bob or something. Do something. Move a little bit. And the tension really builds in that scene. And the way that it pays off makes it a really good scene. That actually, it's kind of loaded with meaning. I realize I'm making myself sound ridiculous, but this scene really is loaded with meaning. The whole premise of this movie, where dancing is outlawed because it's evil, it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid and Pokemon was sort of new. And something had happened. I think there was a kid who committed suicide, and it was somehow Pokemon related. And I live in a Christian city, so you better believe when news got out that Pokemon was evil, all the kids lost their Pokemon toys, dude. Pokemon toys were just in the trash. Sorry. Pokemon is evil. You're not allowed to watch Pokemon anymore. You're not allowed to play Pokemon cards. We're not talking about Pokemon. Pokemon they're demons. They're evil. So that leads me to think maybe there is something kind of small town about this movie. Maybe you need to be familiar with this kind of mindset. Maybe you have to have experienced it before to kind of get this movie. The movie does get a lot more hokey and silly towards the end. And there's one scene in particular that just straight up shouldn't have been in the movie. But it's a really fun movie. It really gets you pumped. Everything is more fun when it's not allowed, whether it be dancing or Pokemon or drugs. Let's hear it for the boys. Let's give the boy a hand. So yeah, it feels kind of weird to be so far out of the loop on this one. But hopefully some of you guys can help me out, man. If you've seen the movie, if you loved it, you hated it, comment below. Tweet your thoughts at me, man. If you haven't seen it, but you fucking hate it anyway, let me know. Comment below. This, you see like here, where I am here, this is the video clip. And below the video clip, that I have no control over that. That's for you guys. That's your domain. You click the thumbs down button, you click the thumbs up button. Doesn't matter to me, man. Say what you want down there. I'll probably reply. Let's give the boy a hand.